All right, we're back with another episode of the Chatterbox with yours truly King Jacob. And we have, man, a special surprise for you this evening. We're going to be talking about something that all should know about. Maybe we didn't learn about it. Our parents was busy trying to put bread on the table, making sure we had clothes on our back, a roof over our head. But this is something that our community as black people definitely need to know about. So we have none other than the special invited guest, Etheredge,
Good
Wilson's
evening. Good
insurance
evening.
broker. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Doing great. I'm doing great. I can complain. I can complain. You know,
You're going in and out.
definitely blessed by the. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're going in and out.
Am I still going in and out?
Yes, sir.
I am. Can you find?
It's like a delay on my end.
It's a delay.
Yeah.
What about now?
It's a little bit better. I guess we'll see
A
as
little
we
bit
keep
better.
going.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, we can do that for sure. So
Yeah.
let's get into it. So, who is Moncina Etheredge?
Woo. That is a loaded question. I don't even know if we got time to unpack. However, a condensed version. I am just this country girl. Grew up in Saluda, South Carolina. Now I'm living in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm the oldest of three siblings, all of us girls.
Mhm.
I am a single mom. I have one amazing son, Diego Etheredge, and he's in the military. I'm very thankful for what he's doing for the country right about now. Would love to have him back at Carolinas, but hey, duty calls. Um, I guess you could say I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have not worked a traditional job since 2011. And my background came from me being in the medical field as a massage therapist. I have a salon, so I'm a massage therapist, a sister lock consultant, um, make jewelry. I guess those are some of the things that I do. As for who I am an empty nester finding myself, if you will. It's been
Okay.
it's my son and I for 25 years.
Hmm.
So, now that he's in the military, it's just me. So, now Moncina is trying to figure this thing out, but I'm really enjoying it. I really am.
So
Love
is has that been a struggle for you?
it has been. It has been because my life really consists of caregiving, not just him, but people in my family. Like I said, my background, I'm a nursing assistant. So I was doing that well, back it up, nursing assistant since 1998, but been caring for people in my family since I guess around 10 or 11. So that's embedded in me, taking care of people.
Hmm.
So now that I per se don't have anybody to take care of, and it's me, now it's like, what is Moncina going to do? Who is Moncina? What does she like? What does she want to do? What don't she like? What don't she want to do? So it's being unpacked day by day, and
Okay.
and and it's been funny because I really did not realize until about a couple of months ago that I had actually been grieving that my son was gone because he first went away for boot camp at AIT, then he went across the waters, in South Korea, and I really didn't know. I couldn't put my finger on it. I knew something was different. Of course, he has left, but because he was living his life and I was still wanting him to be here in a sense, closer.
Mm-hmm.
Going through that was a challenge. And then I had people asking me, why did he go into the military? Did he ever talk about it? And I thinking like, no, we didn't. And it wasn't until like maybe 2 months ago, about 3 months now. And we were just talking and I was like, why did you go into the military? Why did you do it the way you did? Because he graduated with his bachelor's degree. And then he started looking for a job. He didn't like what they was offering him. And one day he called me. He's like, Mom, my recruiter need something medical wise. And I'm like, your recruiter? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna sign up for the Army. And it just took me through a loop there. But a couple of months, about 3 months ago, we was talking. And I'm like, Diego, what made you do that? Because we usually talk about everything. So this was a real surprise. So he's like, well, Mama, you raised me to be a leader, not a follower. You raised me to think for myself. You raised me to be independent. And he just kept naming all the things that I had poured into him. So I'm like, oh, now you want to listen. But I respected him for that, for just doing it, because the closeness that we've had, because we've been together for so long, I probably would have been crying initially, and that's something he did not need to see.
Right.
He as a he's a boy, my only child. He got other siblings with his dad, but being the only child, him per se, the man of the house, I probably would have really messed him up a little bit mentally about his decision. So I'm very, very grateful that was one conversation that we did not have. He just did it.
Okay. I can dig it. Well, he stepped into his manhood and he figured out, that what he was worth, they wasn't offering him. So, he was like, well, let me do something different where I can have a career. And I know Mom might not be thrilled about it, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure she'll in time. So I can't say that he made a bad decision. I can say he made a wonderful decision. And one thing that you should be really, really grateful for, man, your son has never been a troublemaker. He kind of been to himself and he's just been his own person. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely. He's never, like, I didn't even have to give him a curfew. He's never had a curfew.
Respect.
He had that freedom to come and go per se, but he never abused it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just really thank God for that. He was, well-mannered, respectful, don't have any children out there. He was just that poster boy, and he's going to tell his own testimony in time, but he has overcome a lot of things from, his health, education. Like, he's overcome a lot. So I'm extremely proud of him for that.
And you should be proud of yourself as well, for sure.
I am. It's a
Yeah,
little
so
hard sometimes to pat yourself on the back, but I'm getting there. I'm grateful.
well, I'm gonna go ahead and say kudos to you for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no
Thank
doubt, no
you.
doubt. So let's get down to this business. So I've always wanted to ask people. So why did you want to become a licensed insurance broker? What was the
Oh,
reason?
the reason, well, it goes back to me being a single mom and an entrepreneur. So a few years ago, I was in two vehicle accidents 3 weeks apart.
Hmm.
And while at home, going back and forth to the doctors, to specialists, they did not know what was wrong with me. They couldn't figure it out. But laying in my bed, could barely turn over. And sometimes it took 10 to 15 minutes just to roll over or get comfortable. I struggle with the fact of knowing that I'm not going to retire when I wanted to. And that the money that I had saved to help me build my retirement, it was quickly going away because I had my son that was in college at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then being an entrepreneur, that was it. Like we have to make sure that we get our retirement together because we don't work for a job that has retirement built in.
Mm-hmm.
And the vessel that was going to allow me to do that was to become a licensed broker. Because
Right.
with that money, I can use it to put it into a vessel, a product of the life insurance, and it's going to help me do what I need to have done. I'm going to have to do it aggressively, of course, because I'm over 50. But that's what led it there to me. And from that, I wanted to educate all the entrepreneurs as much as possible that this is a vessel that you can use for your retirement. Because we don't have a 401k. We don't have that. We have to do a Roth or IRA, something like that to grow. But initially, there's products out there that can make you get to that point a little bit quicker, if you will.
Okay. So, a lot of people don't understand the constant grind of working for yourself,
Hmm.
and being an insurance broker. You set your own appointments, you set your own meetings, but the the benefits and the generational wealth. Can we kind of talk about that once you got into it and the things that you learned that you was like, oh wow, I really didn't know this.
I didn't know a lot. Truth be told, I didn't know a lot, and I am still learning. Is so much information that is packed into life insurance. So, for one, many of us know about term. It is what it is, term 10, 15, 20, 30 years.
Hmm.
Once it has reached that number, that's it. There is no cash value to it. So, unless you got something like a return of your premium, whereas you getting the money back that you put in, that's it. Of course, then there's whole life, which a few of us know about that. And many times
Right.
people use that to borrow against, but not understanding the whole platform of it, if you will. So with your whole
Okay.
life insurance, it can build cash value. You can borrow against it now. You can borrow against it, but that money is actually coming like your death benefits is acting as collateral. So you can put that money back into that policy and build it back up, or once you take it out as a withdrawal or a loan, that's just it. So you're eating away at your death benefits. Now, what I have learned being in this industry is what we call an IUL, an Index
Hmm.
Universal Life Insurance Policy. That's where
Right.
the true generational wealth come in,
Hmm.
because that is a policy, a contract between you and the insurance company, where as you're funding the policy, part of it is going to the costs and fees, and the other part of it is going to your cash value, which is actually building. And with an IUL, you don't have to pay for it for a lifetime. You can pay into it for 15, 20, 25 years. But once you're at that 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, because it's connected with the S&P 500, your money is still growing. So this is what we're using for generational wealth, because you're able to take money out of that policy, and you don't have to pay taxes. On most cases, you don't have to pay taxes on that money because it is life insurance that you have funded yourself. So you can take that money out, put it into another investment vessel, and let that money grow. And that's in time, you can start building your generational wealth. Um, and that was something that enticed me, because I, being a single mom, only having one child, I wanted my transition from this life to be easy for him. Um, several years ago, back in 2014, my father passed. Well, before he passed, he got sick. We found out he had stage 4 liver, lung, and colon cancer, right? And I knew there was a policy out there that my grandmother took out on him, and then there was a policy that he had with his job. So when he was sick in the hospital, we was talking about everything, like what he wanted, the whole 9 yards. So I'm like, Dad, your policies, who do I need to call to get in touch with them, when your time has come and everything. And he's like, baby girl, there aren't any more policies. I cashed them in. And I'm like, what? And all I could do was I was baffled. I was mad. I was concerned. Because that's money that he could have, that we could have used for his final expenses, as well as put it into another vessel. So that money could be incurring the cash value, and that money that could be sitting there for my son or my grandchildren, whatever case may be. So that's what I did for myself. Got myself, I got 3 different policies, so that when that time comes for me, one is for my final expenses, and the other one will be into the annuities, where it can go that cash value in the event that I die before I'm 59 and a half. So when he gets that age of 59 and a half, he can either get a lump sum or residual checks monthly until he for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where you get in touch with an attorney, of course, to start doing trusts and making sure it continue to do what they need to do.
Okay. So I know you said something about what is it, the UIL, Universal Index Life?
IUL and
IUL. So now what's really interesting about that, somebody was telling me, some things about it, right? But a person who have health issues, would that work for them, or could it even work for them?
Well, each carrier have their criteria, because we go through underwriting, okay? But we also do risk assessment. So we ask you questions prior to doing, putting your policy in, because some carriers you may not be a candidate for. And in those cases that you're not a candidate for life insurance, then that's what we get you with an annuity. And some carriers can start you off as little as maybe $100 a month until you build up to their plateau, because their baseline may be like $10,000. So you can do whatever monthly amount to get you up to that 10,000, and then from there you will start getting the more residual interest accumulated with your policy.
Okay. So I know, it was something that a lot of people, had never heard of, but once they inquired about it, they wanted to know more and more and more and more. That's why I specifically asked about that, because a lot of people in America, it's a lot of people with tons of health issues. You know what I mean? And a lot of people feel like they can't get that type of insurance because of the health issues.
Yeah, and all it takes is to sit down for 30-45-minute conversation, and we ask you a series of medical questions, and we just ask you to be as truthful as possible, because once we submit it, they're going to see it anyway. The insurance company have access to your medical information, so they're going to see it anyway. So there is no reason to say, I'm 100% healthy, I don't take any medicines, never had this, never had that. It's going to show up. So we just ask those questions, up front. And like for myself, I may know a lot of people And because I know you, you may feel like, well, hey, you know, I don't want Moncina to know I have or had XYZ going on. That's fine. I will just simply ask you, well, do you mind if one of my other counterparts have this conversation with you? And that information will not get discussed with me, because, you know, we respect your privacy, and also because of the HIPAA laws.
Right. And so the person who's had life for 10 years, a whole life for 10 years, and you have this new insurance that we're just talking about, what are what would you tell them, if they're trying to enter, to get that new insurance, you know what I mean? And like if they feel like this is going to be a better benefit for them, actually a better living benefit for them, what are some things that you would go over with them?
Dang, that's a good question. So we do go over your current policy to see if what you have is conducive to your lifestyle, your family situation and everything. So we don't just necessarily say, oh, what we got is better. So we do a comparison. But what I can tell you about our carriers and products is it comes with living benefits, which a lot of people don't know about, which I did not know about. So living benefits,
Hmm.
I'm quite sure you have known someone who have had cancer or heart attack or
Right.
stroke, and they lived,
Hmm.
right? They lived.
Right.
However, during that course of time, they could not work. And 9 times out of 10, they had to have somebody to help them. So with the living benefits, that allows you to be able to get a portion, 25% or more, according to whatever you got going on. That money you get access to while you are living and while you are healing. So it's not a stress or a strain on you and your family as for how your bills is going to get paid until you're being able to work again. So that's one of the things that our carriers that we offer, even with term, and you're able to insure people from the age of 14 days up to 85 years of age, and they will have living benefits.
So you said, in short, from 14 years of age up until 85 years of age.
14 days old, 2 weeks old,
14.
14
Oh, oh,
days.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 14 days old. That's what you said.
Yes,
Oh my.
yes.
Oh my. That's amazing. And so
And
with that being said, when it comes to you and what you've learned, you know what I mean, and some of the things that we didn't know, or our parents didn't know, or we didn't really grow up discussing, the benefits of life insurance products. Because I hear white people talk about it all the time, that they had their kids in this life insurance policy since they was 14, like you just said, since they was very young, since they just coming into the world, and when their kids want to start their cash value now, start with the cash value. So can you kind of talk about those benefits of the cash?
okay, so the good one, well, an IUL, for instance, that's where they're talking about you being your own
Hmm.
bank. So an example I'm gonna give you is of a 35-year-old male who had $50,000. So say for instance, he may have gotten it from his old job from a 401, and he decided to become an entrepreneur and did not know where to put that money. And his insurance agent educated him on IULs. So what he did was he put, excuse me, an annuity. So he put that money into the account, didn't touch it for like 15 years. And let's just say at the age of 60, he decided he wanted to go on a trip. Now his money that was in
Hmm.
there could have grown from 50,000 up to possibly 1 point whatever million, because it just sat there and grew. And all he did was take out a portion, maybe like $20,000 if he wanted to go on a trip. So say he took that $20,000 out, what he did was borrow against his borrowed against the policy, but the death benefits as a collateral. So he could pay that money back into his account or not, but it's going to continue to grow. Every year it's going to continue to grow. So that's what we're talking about, becoming your own bank and generational wealth. Because in that lifetime, he can get a lump sum or he can continue to get monthly payouts. And even when he get monthly payouts, his money is, whatever money is still in that account, it is still, in that policy, it is still growing. So when he died, say for instance, if he passed away and his account was at, let's just say 3 million, because, let's just say 3 million. It's not going to take that much to bury him, of course. So they can take a portion of that out, let him have a nice going away, as we say. That other money that's left is left for the beneficiary. That beneficiary could do that same thing, put it into another policy and let that money continue to grow.
Okay. So with the money growing,
Which one are you, excuse me?
so I'm gonna call you a financial expert while we're on this interview. So and the reason why I'm going to say this is because you really know how money works, and a lot of people, of course, we got the banking system, we got stocks, we got crypto, but what you're talking about is much better than all of that. So when we talking about when we talking about longevity, so how does that interest work? How does that interest work when your money is growing?
Okay, I heard, how does it work when, what was the first part? All I heard was, how does it work when your money is growing?
How does that interest work when your money is growing?
So it mirrors the S&P 500. So whatever that percentage is at that time is what you're going to get. We also have a zero floor, which meaning should the stock market crash or go down, you're not going to lose anything. But as it's going up, you're going to get whatever that percentage rate is. So if it's like whatever your account has at the time, and say for instance, if it's like 6%, then that's what your account going to be doing at that year, 6%. It can go up to maybe 28%. You're going to get that 28% for that year. If the next year you go down to 3%, you're going to get that 3%. Not to say that's an actual number. I'm just using it as an example. So that's what it's going to do. Versus your money is in a bank, it's not going to grow like that. You put $1,000 in there this year, you'll probably have 1,001 next year.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So with really that area that you're talking about, and just like we hear stories about like when I lived in Florida, I used to hear some of these. I used to be invited to these dinners with some of these rich white guys. So I had a few friends that was that was CPAs, and they, man, just come out, just come out. So I said, well, I mean, let's have some money. And he says, I got 3 kids, so I'm gonna set up annuities for all of them, and all of them I get a check for the rest of their life for 6,500. And so, could you break down on how those annuities work? Because I mean, at 21 years old, if you getting a check.
Sir. Is having a trust good for building generational wealth? Yes. To answer your question, is having a trust good for building generational wealth? Yes. Being a movie producer, what are some ways I can build generational wealth using your system? Life insurance products. That would be a conversation that you and I can have one-on-one to see, what you're qualified for. But oftentimes when we have loose money, that can hinder us because we need to put it somewhere where it can build and we can see the results from it. I was just looking at some of the comments and answering.
Okay. And so that's very interesting because I feel like a lot of our people don't know about the annuities. So that's something that can abroad their horizons. You know what I mean? When it when it comes to knowing how they really works, because it's it's a lot of things when it comes to financial literacy that we may not know. You know what I mean?
It's a lot. It's a lot that we don't know actually. Like I said, when I came into this industry, I didn't know, what it was, and especially when it comes to annuity. So how it works is it's two phases. So I'm not sure how much of you heard because you was going in and out, and I'm not sure if I answered your question properly as you were going in and out. But it's the accumulation phase. So that's when you fund the account. So you can do either lump sum or monthly payments. And it's what we call that tax deferred. So you don't pay taxes on it until you start making withdrawals, from the account. Then there's the distribution phase. Can you hear me properly?
I can.
Okay, cool. So then there's distribution. And that's when the insurance company will start sending you regular payments of a certain amount at a specific time. Typically at 59 and a half, retirement age, is when you can start seeing those that monies. However, there are different types, and one type is where it's called immediate. So you're able to get your money within like the next month or so. That's what we call the immediate. That's for a specific time in the future. Of course, we got fixed and variables. So fixed is guaranteed, predictable, if you will. Is tied to investment portfolios like the mutual funds, IRAs, things like that. And your balance moves up and down, okay? Because it's a variable, it varies. The index is what's tied to the S&P 500. So that's when we was talking about the zero floor earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, when the stock market takes a dip, your money plateaus because it's at the zero floor. When it goes up, you get your gains. When it drops, if it drops in the negative, you stay at the zero. So that means when it drops, you just don't see any changes in your monies. But when it goes up, that's when you start seeing your gains. But if you was talking about somebody who had children who was going to start receiving a specific amount of money. When you was in Florida, you said
Yes.
you had okay. So that could have been set up through, well, depending on how old the person is that took the policies out. First of all, when it comes to generational wealth, this could be some monies that was an annuity from their parents that at a certain age, of course, the money is sitting there. If they're still alive, they're able to give a lot of the amount to their children or grandchildren, so to speak. But typically it's 59 and a half. But again, it is, like I was saying just a few minutes ago, you have the immediate payout where you get that in a month or so. That's when you're doing like a large lump sum and then you're waiting to see what it's going to do in that next month or something like that.
Okay.
But if the money is set up in a trust from an annuity, then that's where those monthly payments can be coming into the grandchildren, because they're getting a specific amount according to what the grandparents or great grandparents wanted, which is that generational wealth that's there. And that's something that we did not know about, or some people knew about it and was gatekeeping because they want to get the information to themselves. So once I got into this industry, it's really up to people like myself for us to educate the community properly. We do one-on-ones. Of course, when you're talking about doing your own policy, of course, we go out to community settings where we're going out to your church or your social group, at school, where you may have like the PTO, something like that, at your home. If you got your siblings, your family there, and you want to get more information, gather them around after dinner and let's have a conversation. Let's unpack this information. And then from there, we do still set up one-on-one appointments, because again, each person, their needs, we talk about their needs, what they're needing for insurance. And most people thinking like, why do I need insurance? Well, do your family count on you for anything? Are you a sole provider? Are you a part-time provider? You need life insurance, because once you die, that income is gone.
That's true.
That income is gone. So what is your family going to do?
Right. So for you as a, in the business of insurance and your insurance broker, what are some common questions you get asked by families that you have to enlighten them about this, because they think they know, but they really have no idea?
One is, it was kind of a question and a statement. I got a policy at my job, or I have a policy with my car insurance. Okay, but is it enough? Is it what you need? Do it have living benefits? The second one I get to is again, between a question and a statement is, well, I got a policy at my job, so I'm good. But what if you leave that job? You get fired. It's an employer policy. It don't go with you. Questions I get is, how much do I need? Typically, anywhere between 10 and 15% of what your annual income is. So we multiply that. So we unpack you. We go through your finances, what you're bringing in, your debt. We look at too that those subscriptions that you got that you don't need. I learned myself going through my bank account. Like I came across $250 in subscriptions that I had no clue that I was still paying. That was money that was sitting there that could be used for another policy. People ask, should I just let my children be a rider on my policy? You can. And you can also get another policy on your children.
Okay.
As they're getting older, we're talking about the IULs. So that money that you have access to as cash value, that could be monies for, they take it out, they want to get a car when they get older. They need a little extra cushion to put down on a house, or they're going to college. I know someone specific, personally, that I know last year, was it this year? That's what he did with his policy. He took some money out and got him a vehicle. You can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's and oftentimes we get policies on our children, but we also need to get policies on our parents. And it is legal to do because you are taking care of them at some point. You got to take care of them at some point, I should say. And like I said, myself, my father, I knew he had 2 policies, but when he told me he cashed them in, I was like, wow. Had I known I could do that, take a policy on my father, I would have done it. So when he did cash in his policies, I still had that one to take care of what he needed to take care of. And had he had living benefits, with the policy, if because I didn't know, like I'm just getting into this industry 2 years in September. My father passed in 2014. Had I known back then, well, a little bit before then, before he got diagnosed with the cancer, it wouldn't have been stressful.
Yeah. And when your loved one gets sick, it can be very stressful as well. So, there's a really lot to unpack there. So when a person comes to you, you unpack all the finances. So, you're really more than an insurance broker. You're also a financial advisor, just to say the least. You know what I mean? And so, with you understanding how finances really work, since you've been in this industry, um, do your mind ever stop running or no?
Even before I got in industry, no, it does not. I wake up in the morning, I say my prayers, and one thing I always have asked God is, as a willing vessel, show me what I need to do and who I need to help, how I need to help. That's always been part of my prayer and what my statement is. So when I got into this industry, it was and still is, did I talk to enough people? My goal is to verbally talk, not text, but talk to at least 25 different people per day.
Okay.
Yes, I am an agent to educate people on the insurance part to get them covered, but I'm also a recruiter. So I'm putting my plug out there. If y'all want to get your license, hit me up. But my mind is constantly going like, have I said enough? Have I talked to my family, my immediate family? Have I talked to them enough without sounding like a broken record, or without sounding like I'm begging, or without sounding like I'm nagging them? Like, I just want you to get this information. And once I give it to you, it's in your lap because you can't unhear it. And I remember coming into the industry, I was talking to my siblings, my nieces and my nephews, and of course it went over their head. And that's what it does, immediate family sometimes. So back in May, my oldest nephew, he had dinner at his home for his mom for Mother's Day. And I honestly, I wasn't gonna go because I wasn't really in the mood. My son is not here. So I was like, what, let me just take this time to just unplug, just do nothing, And my sister called me and she was like, have you talked to your nephew? He's cooking dinner. I'm like, yeah, but stay home. So she's like, you should come. I went and I had a good time. I always have a great time with my family, but I really had a great time this year. And one of my nephews, he pulled out his cell phone. He was going through Facebook, some things that his father had sent him when it comes to financial literacy, generational wealth. And, and at first I'm a little salty. I'm like, Joker, I done told you this information and you ain't saying nothing. But, I didn't trip on it. But I watched him and I just smiled. And my sister was like, dude, your auntie is the plug. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, this is the same information she talked to us about, all the time. She's always putting in the family group chat. She's talking to us and you act like you heard it for the first time. I said, well, he's in a place mentally now that he can receive it. So I'm very grateful that the seed that I planted, it was still getting watered by somebody else. And, he finally grasped it with his father. His father is sending him this information because he done heard information, and, he's trying to make sure all his children are straight and his grandchildren are straight. So I really love the fact that my nephew was like telling us like he just discovered sliced bread or something. And it was just beautiful to see. And that's just what I want. I want everybody to hear this and just, just sit with it, but not too long, but really sit with and be like, dang, this is what I'm missing out on, and this is what I can do. But the other flip side of it is I hear so many people say, oh, I ain't leaving my family nothing. I don't need no insurance policy. I ain't leaving them nothing. You leaving them with the bill because they got to bury you.
Yeah.
And or cremate you. And cremation is it starts off what, 10,000 almost, maybe?
Yeah.
Because if you have, I know, like when my father passed, even though he was cremated, we still had a service. So we had the wake, and of course, we had the funeral with his body there. So you still got to rent the casket and go through the whole formality. So that still costs. Unless you're just doing a straight cremation and just have a memorial with their picture there. But then that, like I said, some people are like, well, I'm not going to leave them anything. We are supposed to leave an inheritance to our children's children. That's Bible. That is Bible. So what you're saying is even in this, yeah. So, I mean, it don't have to be millions and millions of dollars if you don't have it, but set them up with something.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. You definitely got to, set them up with something, and then, just like you're doing a service to a lot of people because you're educating them something. What you speaking is a form of the gospel. It's ministry.
It
and
is.
So in your ministry, you should just keep dropping those jewels, what I mean? Because more people hear you and are acting on it than you think. Because we're in this new digital era where, information is power, and power is priceless. You know what I mean? So dropping those jewels and keep dropping. So let me ask you another question. As far as you working with corporate people, right? As far as you're a licensed broker, right? So if you have a small company with 20, 30 employees, how does that type of insurance work for you as far as group life insurance?
Okay, so we have a company, National Life Group, is who we use when it comes to what we say group policies, but it's still individual. The only thing is the employer would be responsible for making that monthly payment for each individual. And each policy, of course, it will vary between, depending on what they got going on health-wise. So it's not like a one set flat rate like Aflac, nothing against Aflac, but like Aflac can offer a group rate for said amount of people for a specific amount of services or something like that. But what we do is, National Life Group, you are able to, the boss can pay for everybody's policies. So if your policy is 200 and the next person is 50 and the next person is 75, that it just, whatever it is, that's what the boss pay, the employer pay.
Okay.
So even with myself, with my salon, everybody's a 1099, but if there was anyone that I actually hired to help me with my business, since I'm stepping away from that as being a worker to just an owner. So when I hire someone to be in a specific position, they're my key person. I could do a policy on that person as well as they can do a policy and I can pay it because I've hired them.
Okay. And so what is what is considered as group insurance? How many people?
It just takes about 2 people.
Oh, really? Okay, okay,
Because I mean, like I said, I have a salon, so I have two people that's working in my salon right now. That would be my little group until it
okay,
continue to grow.
okay then. Okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay. So when it comes to, um, I know when it comes to health, because I used to work in a call center that sold health and life. It was about probably about a 70-man room call, and I was a client services manager. And so I know in health they have open enrollments. So do you are you just strictly life, or do you do health insurance as well?
I'm licensed to do health, but I only do life.
Okay then.
I'm
Okay.
licensed to do
Okay.
life, health, and annuities.
Okay then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you have a Series 7?
Actually, thank you for asking. With the company that I am with, we don't have to have any series. It's our license.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
Yes. So once we
Okay.
get licensed, we actually we go through the state of South Carolina, the Department of Insurance,
Hmm.
and well, to back it up, so we do boot camp. We currently are using Exam FX, so we study that. In about a week's time, you should have your license.
Okay. Okay.
Once you take your license, once you take your test and get
Hmm.
your license, you
Hmm.
only take it at one time. So then you're able to get your license in any other state by paying the state fees, whatever that is. So, and once you're doing that, we have carriers like National Life Group, um, oh my gosh, Mutual of Omaha, Foresters, SILAC. So each carrier offers a multitude of things, whether it's life and health and annuities. So
Okay.
if it's for annuities, you take a specific training, if you will, from them. We do anti-money laundering
Hmm.
test, and we do the annuity test, and we have to submit that to the Department of the DOI. So it's showing that we're able to do so. Now we may have a company like SILAC who may ask you to take a few more of their training, their specific trainings for their specific
Hmm.
products, and
Hmm.
that's it. Once you get your license, that's it.
Okay. 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 So it's funny because the reason I asked you about this Series 7, because I was talking, just having a casual conversation with this insurance broker out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We was talking about sports. He told me what he did. So I said, "So man, you got your Series 7?" He was like, "What?" He was like, "So you know more about what you leading on to?" I said, "Yeah, I know a little something, man. I know a little something, something. But yeah, man, what you doing is great. It's phenomenal, and man, shout out to you, man. And I'm gonna say this, for the people who have beauty salons and barbershops and massage parlors and hardware stores and y'all got workers, so if y'all need that group insurance, I got somebody for you. I definitely got somebody for you.
And you can't
For
have
sure.
too many policies. You can't never have enough. Because each policy have its own place per se.
Right.
Like especially when it comes to homeowners. Homeowners policy. So you have a policy. Once you pass, that policy specifically will take care of the home. Or you got a policy specifically will take care of your children. If you got children in the home, especially when you got a stay-at-home parent and
Right.
that key
Okay.
person passed away, that person is going to need some help, especially as it's for small children. You're going to need a nanny or, help pay, get a family member to help come over and help you do some things, run errands or whatever. So every policy have its purpose. You can never have too many. And when we think about life insurance, unfortunately, people automatically think about death. No, the word life is in front of insurance. This is for while
Right.
you are alive.
Right.
Utilize it
Right.
while you are alive. Get in contact with your current licensed insurance broker and talk about what you have. Is it conducive to your lifestyle? Do you have living benefits? Some people got policies that have living benefits and they didn't even know they had them.
And mercy.
Right.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
access to this and you didn't know you had it.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
it's just it's a conversation. It's
It
a
is. It is. It's
conversation.
a.
And
It's definitely a conversation that many people need to have for sure.
yes, and unfortunately, we walk on eggshells when we talk about finances, and
We do.
finances, financial literacy, savings. We have no problem talking about how much we spend.
Yeah. Yeah.
We quit to say, "Oh, my purse costs this, my shoes cost this, my concert ticket costs this. I'm going on vacation. It's going to cost me this." What about your savings?
You're right. You're right.
All these little things is costing you not to have the savings that you and your family need.
You're absolutely right,
And
man.
we got to be smart about it.
Yeah. No
We just got
doubt.
to be
No
smart
doubt.
about it.
We definitely do so, man. We about out of time. So before we get out of here, tell people where they can find you at your website, your information. If you are hosting any type of seminars, any type of classes, because I know you're recruiting, like you said. So
Yes.
just give me your information.
Here's my plug. Moncina Etheredge, Moncina Etheredge, Etheredge. My phone number is 803-261-9479. I am located at 1122 Lady Street, Columbia, South Carolina. We have two offices. We have two offices here, Suite 315 and 316. And we will be here Saturday afternoon at 1:30. So if you would like to come out and hear the information and ask your questions and fill out that survey to say you want to be a part of our team, the Wealth Academy, please do so. And shout out to Ellis and Jasmine Swazo. They are the founders of the Wealth Academy. They're based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have offices in South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, South Bend, Indiana, New Orleans, and currently we have, I think, over 2,000 agents, and we've already serviced over 50,000 families.
That's amazing. That's
The
amazing. So
Wealth
y'all heard it.
Academy, the
The
Wealth
well,
Academy. Look us up on Facebook, social media platforms, Instagram, the Wealth Academy. Ellis and Jasmine Swazo.
y'all heard it first, man. Chat about TV featuring King Jacob with none other than special invited guest Messina Etheredge, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of information. And man, we're definitely gonna have to do this again. And
Yes.
if there's anybody from your team and y'all want to have a live panel discussion
Okay.
about wealth and generational wealth and financial literacy and how this benefits you. So you just tell me when you can get everybody together and we can have a
Okay.
live panel discussion.
I would love it. We would love it.
Okay. All right. I appreciate your time. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you. You have a wonderful night as well.
Thank you.